back when it was on the regional scene, and I think like maybe even to Cage Warriors' point, I think it was like, oh, this is a bit of fun, This we
Yeah.
don't take maybe, and he said he's thinking we don't have to take this too seriously. When you get to the UFC, it's like you're fighting the best fighters on the planet.
Some man they wanna chat shit till I knock 'em ain't like I'm Jack Shaw. Rolls hot, rolls back, my flow sharp like a hacksaw.
We're joined today by an old friend, Mr. Wood. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Just want to obviously just quickly touch base. Got a fight booked coming up with Morgan Charrier. Guys would have probably followed you both in Cage Warriors. I'd imagine it's kind of two generations, if you want to say it, of Cage Warriors fighters. I know he came about slightly after you left and became quite a big name with them. Firstly, what's your thoughts on the matchup stylistically, and how did it come about? Was he a guy you kind of thought you'd have next, or was it one that kind of blindsided you a little bit?
If I'm honest, I didn't think I would have him. I thought in my head, I kept thinking that they were going to give me someone just under the top 15.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, look, he's a massive name in France. He's got a lot of very talented. He's very good, all-rounded fighter. Obviously he was the Cage Warriors champ. I've sort of followed his career as I'm sure he's followed mine. I would have ideally liked someone ranked a bit higher, but I mean, if I'm going to get anyone, I would rather someone like him who has a big name, who has a lot of hype around him. It's not just the rankings. It's increasing my portfolio, if you like.
Yeah.
More eyes on the fight and stuff. So, yeah, I'm happy with the match. It's a good fight. It's a fun fight. I like the fact that I would say he's good all round. It's not like I'm fighting Charles Rosa, who's more just a grappler,
Yeah.
or fighting more just a striker. So it'll be exciting to kind of go in there and have a MMA fight, if you like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I am looking forward to it. If I'm honest, I don't give a crap about the rankings anymore now. That for me was if I get a ranked opponent, cool, let's go. If not, now I'm a bit like I'm so done with it. So yeah, I'm just here to fight, get
Yeah.
paid, do what I love, and that's it.
I think outside of the top 15, he's probably one of the better guys European-wise to have as well. Because I didn't realise when he was at Cage Warriors how many bloody followers he had. He had like 100,000 followers even
Yeah.
before he signed for the UFC. So, as you said, I think there'll be a lot of spotlight on the fight, particularly with it being in Europe, on London. Me personally, I think, not just saying this community, but I think you're better than him in all areas. So I'm looking forward to it because he comes to fight. One thing about the kid, he does come to fight. And
Yeah.
I think styles make fights. And I think it's a perfect stylistic matchup. I don't see a lot, I don't know what your plans are. We're not expecting you to tell us, but it's one of those things where I think we'll see a lot of striking exchanges at a really high level.
Yeah, from what I kind of watch of him, I think that, like myself, he prefers to strike. I think we're both can say maybe more strikers than grapplers, but I think he's very comfortable in, if he needs to go for a takedown, go for a takedown. With me, I'm the same. I have got a high level grappling game, but I just get a bit stubborn in the fight sometimes. So if I'm losing, like with Josh Reed, I was a bit like, I ain't going for a takedown. So
He'd
yeah,
be really pleased you
sometimes.
brought that fight up on this podcast, Josh. Well, he says to me, I just can't get away from it, boss. Whenever Nathaniel's fighting, they're going to show him beating me up.
Mate, he's a good guy. How is he anyway?
He's good, mate. He's good. He's a good lad, Josh. He's actually off to Iceland tonight. He's just messaged me.
Right.
Yeah, it's his 15th holiday in the last 12 months. I don't know what he's doing.
He got some money.
Good
for
lad.
that, when they offered you the match, and obviously when you're preparing for the fight now, I don't know if you're a guy that watches a lot of tape or if you just kind of like to fight your own fight. Obviously his run in the UFC has been a little bit up and down. He's won one.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of close fights, but obviously if you go back to his Cage Warriors fights, obviously
Yeah.
he went on a real good run and obviously fought some real high level guys as well. Your Paul Hughes, your Vashenik. So is that something you're gonna go back and watch them fights, or is it they're kind of too long ago, no real relevance, or you're just gonna go in there and fight your own fight?
My dog's going absolutely crazy. Posting on something. Yeah, to be honest, mate, I don't usually watch too much footage of my opponents. Now, the main reason being I'm a big overthinker, with my OCD and stuff. And when I have an opponent, if I watch too much of him, and let's say he pulls out last minute and someone else comes in,
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of overthink everything. So my best way is I go, look, I'm going to train for me. I'm just going to do the best Nathaniel Wood I can be, turn up, play my game. I let my coaches watch his stuff and kind of come up with a game plan. As I say, with Morgan, the perfect opponent, really, because I kind of just think it's going to go anywhere. When I
Yeah.
spar at the gym, I'm not really going, oh, I'm only going with strikers or I'm only going with grapplers. I'm just kind of going with everyone. Um, I will watch some footage of him, like just kind of really go over it because I have seen a lot of him in the past anyway. But I will go over and just kind of just because sometimes I feel like I should, just
Yeah.
freshen everything up, just see if there's a couple little holes in his game. But, like you said with the Paul Hughes fight, Jordan Vachenik, they're so long ago. I mean, he could be a completely different
Yeah.
fighter now. He could have certain injuries that are going to completely change his game. I do think for me that the main advantage I'm going to have is the speed. I don't think he's ever going to have been with anyone as fast as me. I prefer as well being the shorter fighter. I feel like he'll struggle to get his body locks on me like he did against Jordan Vachenik.
Yeah.
And expect a lot of calf kicks.
Yeah. What's the difference in height? How is he a good few inches taller?
He's
I
he's
haven't
a
asked that.
couple inches taller.
Yeah.
So he's not massive in height, but when I've watched him, I feel like he doesn't really shoot for takedowns much. I feel like he kind of just goes for them body locks and likes to go through there. Whereas obviously when I fight, I'm going to bring my
Yeah.
stance
Yeah.
even lower, and I feel like I'm going to be quite tucked in for that. Um, so yeah, well, obviously I like to just go in there and just go with the flow.
I
You ever
want to
know?
touch on what you said just then about you don't overanalyze and overstudy the opponent. Is it's one thing we've learned as a team, and more from Jack's experiences. Really, we've had like 4 opponents in with one time in 2 week within a 2 week time
Yeah,
frame. And you can like as a coach, I sit down, I get my notes out, and I know there's been a couple of occasions, not just with Jack, with other fighters, where I've spent hours upon hours of studying and working things out, and then bang, a week later it's a different opponent. A week later it's a
yeah,
different one. We had 4 in a week, was it one time?
Yeah, for Fight Island,
For
wasn't it?
fight, we had
Yeah.
4 different opponent
yeah,
changes in seven
yeah,
days. It's unreal. But yeah, I agree. I agree what you said. I think if you've got confidence in your ability, confidence in what you're capable of doing, you should go in and we always use a phrase, fight your own fight, and not concentrate too
yeah,
much on your opponent.
I
So
want to touch on what you said about obviously I've heard you speak about before with the OCD. Um,
yeah,
is that something that is that something you struggle with your whole life, or is it a recent thing? And because I can imagine, like, I would class myself as a little bit OCD, but obviously not to the extent of someone who's probably officially diagnosed with it.
yeah,
I can imagine it being an absolute nightmare with a fight coming up in terms of your training, your meal prep, everything else. Is that something you've always struggled with, or is it a recent thing? And how do you stay on top of that in fight counts? I can imagine, like you said, with opponent changes or
yeah, your
weight
mind starts
training, I can
going overly
imagine,
active, doesn't
yeah,
it?
it can be a little bit
yeah.
trying.
So the problem with me is, so as far as I can remember, I've had this all my life. But when I was a kid, I didn't know what this was. I just thought I was a bit odd. I used to
Yeah,
just think that I had a few habits that were kind of a little bit unusual, but I didn't really want to talk about them because I'm like, I remember being about 5 years old, mate, and I couldn't go to bed until I had touched every corner of the room and stuff like
yeah,
that. And I'm like, mate, I'm like 5 years old, and I remember thinking that if I didn't do it, I was going to hell. And I'm like, man, where does that come from for a 5-year-old? But now obviously as I've got a lot older and I've been diagnosed with it and stuff, now I'm like, okay, now I know what I was dealing with back then. So
yeah,
the problem is I don't ever focus on normal things. So I don't ever stress about the fight. I will stress about things that are like 0.0.1% chance of ever happening, and just the darkest things. So like, I had a thought. It was the John Castaneda fight, and before I had him, this was on I'd say on fight week. I convinced myself that I had like a brain bleed, and I was like, I had a headache one day, and I was like, if I've got a bleed in my head and I get punched, I might die. And don't ask me where that came from. The thought just appeared one day, and then my obsession just like
yeah,
latched on. Now I'm in like a vicious loop. So now it's causing me anxiety because it's causing me to have anxiety. I'm now focusing on it more, and it can be a real kind of just pain in the ass.
yeah,
Um, I don't have anything like I wish that I was OCD about being tidy because the house would be
yeah,
nice and tidy, but I'm not. I've had sometimes it does help in training sometimes where I'm like, I've got to do another round, otherwise I'll lose my fight, and then that
Yeah.
means I have to do another round. But yeah, it's horrible, mate. It is, because a lot of people obviously don't really know too much about it, so they might think, OCD is just having things being tidy and stuff, but it's the faults and kind of just latching onto faults. So
Yeah, I can relate it because Jack's sister, my daughter, is really bad with it. So, for example, she leaves the house, she goes around twice filming her turning all the switches off on the plugs.
yeah, yeah,
She videos herself locking the door twice, and she'll send that video to her partner then to say, just so that I know I've locked the door. And we laugh and joke about it, don't we? But it must be such a stressful situation where, like you said, that thought comes into your head. What support have you had? Or did you seek any medical advice about dealing with that type of stuff, Nath?
Keep it running. I'm just going to
yeah.
grab the charger, boys.
Yeah, so I do see a therapist now. I ended up going private just because the kind of NHS and stuff was too long-winded. And if I'm honest, mate, it's about 150 quid a session. So it's
Yeah,
absolutely killing me for money. I'm on medication for it as well. And I'm lucky that my mum, my dad, and my wife, they are golden. They are the sort of the best therapists that I could have ever asked for. And they're very supportive, because I don't even know if I'd be here today if I didn't have them to
yeah,
talk to.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously, when you're kind of in your own head, it can be very scary. So if you don't have the right people to talk to, then I can imagine, I can imagine why people end up committing suicide, because you're kind of just trapped, and it's like you're never ending. So when you do have them right people to talk to and just let off your kind of, you know, you're not crazy. You're not like completely irrational. What you're thinking is kind of a normal intrusive thought
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yeah.
that you're just latching onto. But once I got diagnosed, I think that helped in realizing, oh, okay, I have something here. I have an illness. If I went to the doctors, because I always had headaches, and they say, look, you've got headaches because you're dehydrated, at least I know.
No,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So I think being diagnosed helped.
How long ago was the diagnosis? Is this something you've had recently or quite a time now?
No, this is about 10 years ago, I
10
think
years ago,
now.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But as I say, I've had it all my life, but just never really knew what it was.
Yeah. And as you've got older, just feel that you manage it better now. Like you said, you've got family and now that you can offload to something you've become so familiar with. The fact that, like you said, as a kid, you're thinking, is there something wrong with me? Now you realize
Yeah.
these are the reasons. So are you managing it much better?
It's still kind of just as painful sometimes. Like I'll have like dark patches where I might be a couple of weeks, but I just have to kind of remind myself it will pass. So
Yeah.
because I've been here before, I know it will pass. Whereas, for example, let's say the very first time I had really bad
Yeah,
OCD,
yeah, yeah. I get that.
you're a bit like, is this how I'm going to live now?
Yeah.
You don't really know where to turn to. So now I just remind myself, look, might be a week, might be 2 weeks, but you will get better and you will start thinking more rationally. Um, so yeah, it's tough, man. It really is. And like you said, your daughter's dealing with it as well. So I think it's becoming a lot more well known now.
And I think it
So I
helps
think,
with everything, any sort of illness now, it's a ailment. People like yourself, who, and I've seen Paddy doing it with mental health, yourself talking about OCD. I remember we seen it, didn't we, when you first came out openly about it. I just think it helps people to think, you know, for people like you, it's got a platform with lots of followers and people know. I think it's great that you're speaking out about it openly and honestly, and
yeah,
hopefully others can find support from that, and think, right, well, if he can deal with it, dealing with the type of life and the type of job you got, it
yeah.
should help your run of the mill guy.
Yeah, my dad said to me once, because I never really wanted to talk about it just because I didn't want people to think I was clout chasing or like
Yeah,
jumping on a bandwagon. But I got asked, I think, by Bisping after the Charles Jourdain fight, and that's how I mentioned it. And I had so many messages of people saying, "Mate, this has really helped me." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Why? How have I helped you?" But my dad said to me, he went, "If you can just help one person, it's worth talking about."
yeah.
And I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed in the slightest
It's nothing
about
to be
talking about
embarrassed about, is it? It's
that. Yeah,
unfortunately it's part of your nature, and it's something you're going to
yeah,
live with until you die. So it's
yeah.
nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just managing it the best you can.
100%. And yeah, obviously, when I get messages of it helping people, it's a nice feeling.
Great.
So
You
yeah,
you just mentioned your dad. I want to touch on that because obviously you and Jack very similar situations, which is quite unique, where you've got your father as one of your coaches. Um, your dad has obviously got a history. I think it was kickboxing, wasn't it? When I spoke to him, is what he first started out on. So was kickboxing your first start? Tell us a little bit about your background. How you started training with your dad, and how you've ended up, at GB top team, and as to where you are today.
So my dad's always been, I'd say, just a hobbyist martial artist. Since he was a kid, black belt in karate, black belt in judo, done kickboxing, done some Muay Thai, even done like the sword fight in
Yeah,
kendo,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
he's just loved it. Always loved the kind of kung fu films, if you like, just into martial arts. And I've always had that when growing up. I've always been into it myself as well. I'd always be watching the old ninja films or
Yeah.
whatever you'd call it, American Ninja, I think it was called. Um, and he didn't make me, but he got me to go kickboxing when I was about 10, just for self defense. Just get off the PlayStation and go out and do something. And I wouldn't say I loved it. It was okay. I did it for about a year, then ended up stopping because my football times were clashing. So it was basically, do you want to do kickboxing or football? And then fast forward to when I think it was 15 or just leaving school, 15, 16. My dad was doing jiu-jitsu at the time, and he had like Jimmy Manoa there and stuff, and I was always a fan of the sport. And he said to me once, what do you want to do for work? Because I hated carpentry. I was doing carpentry at school and it just wasn't for me. And I said to him, Dad, the only thing I want to do is be an athlete. And it's like, at 16 years old, what sport can you go into and just kind of start from scratch? And I thought, do you know what? MMA fighters have started in their 20s, like Brad Pickett. Demetrius Johnson, I think, started when he was 19, 20. And I was about 16. And I said to my dad, you know what? I'm going to come with you to jiu-jitsu. I'm going to hit the bag every day in the garage. And I'm just going to be an athlete. I'm going to be a UFC fighter. And I think he did look at me as if to say, no chance, And I was always quite worried about being clean when I was younger. So he said, like, you rolling around with other men, no chance. And literally went along doing 2 sessions every day. I was like a duck to water. So, yeah, before I even stepped in the gym, I just said, I'm going to do this for a living. And here we are now. So,
Has your entire MMA career been with Brad at GB top team, or was you with another team before you joined those guys?
no. So, Brad, I met, I would say, when I was about 21. So, it was about 5 years after I'd started.
Were you pro then, or was you still amateur?
Yes, yeah, I
Pro
was
then.
pro. He was the reason I stopped going in the gi as well. Because he wasn't ever training the gi. So, I was fortunate that he ended up moving to Malden, where I lived, and said to me, mate, jump in the car with me, come with me to North London. You can train with me every day. And at the time, I think he was ranked fifth in the world. I'm like, mate, I've landed on my feet here.
Yeah.
Fifth ranked guy in the world, literally taking me with him to the gym because I couldn't afford to train. I literally had no money. And yeah, obviously I was very blessed to have him just kind of land on my doorstep because, when do you ever get the fifth ranked
No,
guy in the
yeah,
world at your weight on your doorstep?
yeah. What was your record when you joined Brad?
My record, I think, would have been like maybe 6-2.
6. So you'd had a good few
Yeah.
fights before you gone over.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the first time I met Brad was I did a bit of sparring with him because he was basically sparring one of my teammates and the managers kind of set it up. And I think he just thought, man, this kid's good, like he's got potential. And then just said to me, look, I am moving to your area. Just jump in with me and, come and train with us. So as I say, it's a blessing, really. He
Yeah.
literally landed on my feet.
So you always have Brad and your dad in your corner. Just one thing before Jack asks the next one. What's your father like fight week and like on the day of the fight? Is he comfortable? Is he stressed?
Nah, he used to be comfortable, and now he hates it. I think that he wants me to retire. He wants me to. I think he's ready. Like, mate, I think it kills him more than it kills
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. And
Um,
listen, I say this to everyone. I don't think, and even you guys as the sons, I don't think you'll ever appreciate how it feels until you're actually in that position as fathers. Now,
yeah,
and I've used this line a million times, but as a father, your entire fabric is to look after your children, and it's such a
yeah,
vulnerable position to be in as a dad, to watch your son go out and have a fist fight where could literally be rendered unconscious. It's not a good feeling.
yeah.
So I'm just curious how he is when I wanted to ask Andy Aspinall as well. I'm going to try and get Andy on the podcast because it's so far out of our comfort zones that
Yeah.
I think you've got to be in the position to appreciate what it feels like on that day.
Does he show it a lot before the fight? Like obviously with him,
Yeah.
he used
He
to.
does now.
He got a little bit better at it, but I mean, like I remember literally being ready to walk out sometimes, and
This is even an amateur
yeah,
mind as
and
well.
he's spewing in the bin next to him about the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I'd start dry reaching and all sorts.
Does he try and hide it, or is it just one of them he physically can't?
I don't think you can hide it anymore now.
Good.
Back when it was on the regional scene, and I think like maybe even to Cage Warriors point, I think it was like, oh, this is a bit of fun. This we
Yeah.
don't take. Maybe, and he said he's thinking we don't have to take this too seriously. When you get to the UFC, it's like you're fighting the best fighters on the planet.
Yeah.
Even little things like if you don't win your fight, you don't get paid the second half. There's a lot more to it now, and I think that he sees the stress that it kind of puts on me because it's no longer just a game; it's a job.
Yeah.
This isn't playing anymore. Whereas back when we was on the local scenes, it's a bit like oh, you're fighting some guy that's a mechanic and he does a bit of training on the weekends
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Now it's like you're fighting the best fighters on the planet. So. And he said to me the other day a point about he had one of his friends coming up and sort of being like, mate, your son's like ranked 21 in the world, and he's like, mate, that's my son. I don't think of it like that. I don't care. Like, he's just my son as long as he's happy.
Yeah.
And I think, as Jack will know now, like having kids myself, I'm like, okay, now I see what you lot are talking about.
Yeah.
It's a good transition actually, because I want to talk to you. Obviously, you've got your daughter now. Obviously, if you don't, I don't know if you don't mind talking about her or whatever. But I know she had some health complications when she was first born. Do you mind touching on that a little bit and just how big a factor that or she has been, in your mindset, in your life, in your training, in everything since being born? Because I know for me personally, when my son was born, it totally changed my outlook on life, my outlook on training, my outlook on fighting.
Yeah.
It made me look at everything I do in a totally different way. So how has it been for you? Obviously, fatherhood so far, and how stressful was those first?
And
few
how is she
months?
as well, by the way? Is she well now?
Yeah, so she had something called CDH, which we've kind of like that's done now. She had the operation when she was 2 days old. She was in intensive care for a month. CDH has basically meant all of like her organs were up, like round by her heart. It was
Yeah.
all messed up, so they had to like open her up, take it all out, and that was a shit experience. It really, really was because I always imagined in my head it would take time to get to love your child. I thought my child's gonna come into the world. I get it, it's mine, but I need to get to know her. And that was furthest thing from the
Yeah.
truth because as soon as she come out, I literally in my head was saying, God, like, take me, not her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
would die for that girl, and I don't even know her. I've never met her. Like she's just come out, and she was. As soon as she come out, they had to put the tubes down her throat and sedate her and stuff. So she was out of it as soon as she came out, and I was just sitting there thinking like, nah, this is fucked up, man. This shouldn't be her sitting there. Fortunately, all of that's done now. We took her home, and then we went for a checkup scan, and they said that she's got a hole in her heart. So she now has another issue. Sorry about the dog, lads. He's lunatic.
We can,
I
I
can you not
can't
hear
hear.
him? He's going
No, no,
nuts
it's
for
good.
me. And now she's got a hole in her heart, and this is a less severe thing to what we had before. They said that with this hole, basically, she will need open heart surgery, which again is like, oh, for fuck's sake,
Stress, yeah.
having my daughter having to be cut open by surgeons is not what I want to
Yeah.
hear. But they did say, look, we want her to grow. So we need her to be ideally 3 years old, 4 years old. That would be the perfect time to do it. My problem with my girl is she doesn't want to eat much. She's not got much of an appetite. And I don't know if that's because of CDH, because all of her intestines were, turned over. So that's why she's got the tube and stuff and having to feed her through that. But at the moment, touch wood, everything's going smoothly. She's putting on weight now.
Good
Hope,
news.
yeah, just that. When it's just lingering. At
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point, I know it's going to happen, and there's nothing I can do about it. And
How old is she now, Nate?
She's 9 months now.
9 months, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got another one on the way. That's
Any
obviously-
how are the nights? Any sleepless nights with training camp
Mate.
coming up?
again, touch wood, good as gold.
I was
not happening here, mate.
no, I wasn't.
Tell him.
I wasn't quite as blessed. He's 18 months old now, and he still don't fucking sleep. So
My wife, luckily, my wife is very on it. Like she's like, no, you sleep, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't really wake up though, but she will only get up maybe once in the night, and that's it, mate. I'm so
Oh, keep
lucky.
it that way,
I,
buddy.
I don't
Did I
want to
see
jinx it.
did I see you got another one on the way as well?
Yes, yeah, she's
Yeah.
4 months pregnant, so we didn't wait
So
around.
so fingers crossed the second one sleeps as well then, because they say you never have two of the same, so you might fall unlucky on the second one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So as I say, mate, I've been very lucky. She is an absolute angel. Anyone that says, "Oh, kids are hard," I'm looking at them like, man. Other than the health issues, she has been absolutely
Yeah.
golden. But I've got another one on the way now, which could be the complete polar opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to
You wait
wait.
till she's up walking as well. Then then you know feel life with everything at the moment. Can't turn you. I put a video up the other day. I turned my back literally for 60 seconds. I was babysitting, and I've come out, and he's covered in Suda cream. I can live with that. Then I looked over, and we got a fabric settee, and it's just covered top to toe. And so I thought, my missus is gonna
Yeah.
flip her lid now if I can't get this off. I want to touch about anybody who sees you and Brad together can see you've got a brilliant relationship. Do you want to talk just a little bit about the dynamic with you and Brad as we finish up?
Yeah, mate. Brad is like, even though I've got a dad, he's like a father figure.
Yeah.
He really is. He's like my brother who I mess about with and wind up. Like, mate, I wind him up so much, like you wouldn't believe. But he also gives me so much advice and acts as like a father figure. He has got about, I think, 15 years on me. So, technically could be my dad. But mate, we just get on like a house on fire. We are so similar in our personalities. Um, we just get on.
Yeah,
We
perfect
do.
fit.
We do wind each other up a lot. I think I wind him up more now as he's getting older. I think he's a bit like, oh, fuck. He hates
Your
me
patience starts
sometimes.
going as you get older, and he votes for
Yeah,
that.
but yeah, mate, we just get on so well. When it just clicks, and
Yeah.
it.
The story I always tell people about Brad was when you fought Josh Reed. I'm sat in the hotel room on my own, and there's a knock on the door, and I'm assuming it's Josh coming back. And I've opened the door, and it's Brad, and he's looking at the floor, and he's got a phone in his hand on his ear, and he must have thought it was your room. Yeah, we must be next door
Yes.
to each other. And he goes to walk in. I go, "You okay?" And he looks up. He goes, first of all, he must be thinking, "What's he doing in fucking Nathan's room?"
Yeah.
I said, "You got the wrong room." He goes, "Oh, sorry, mate," and walks off. But I thought, like the day before, the fight, he must have thought, "What the fuck's going
the
on?"
chance?
He was trying to get an inside look at Josh. He's like, okay, what's he looking like?
He was
Yeah,
led on the
that is
set. He
Brad.
dying.
That is Brad. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll just say about the Josh Reed fight. That brought so many eyes on to the both of you. For two fighters outside of the UFC, people still talk about it. I think we've talked about it in 50 years' time, the fight. I looked at the one video and I think I'd seen it was 2 million views. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of eyes on that fight. Apart from, that, what other is, would you say is one of your most standout performance?
So, do you know what? I'll always have a soft spot for Josh, because our fight, I think, is the prime example. Now, I don't want to say this and it ends up, upsetting him, but it's the prime example of how close
Yeah.
this sport is. Because Mark Goddard could have stopped that potentially.
Yeah.
Another ref might have stepped in. He was so close, and who knows what would have happened. Maybe
this is a
if he
game
had
of
won that
inches, as they say
fight,
in it. Yeah.
maybe he would have then gone on to be in the UFC and be where I am now. We obviously we can never look at it like that. We have no idea what would have happened and could have happened. But if it wasn't for me, if it wasn't for Josh and our fight and how it was going, and I lost, maybe I would have never got signed. And then maybe I would be doing something that I hate, and I would never have this experience that I've had. And in a way, it's kind of like, I know Josh obviously didn't let me win, but it's like I kind of want to thank him to say thank you for letting our fight happen.
Yeah.
Because without that, I wouldn't have. I actually got offered a contract after that fight, but I turned it down because one, it was on short notice, and I just wouldn't have made weight, and two, I did have a Cage Warriors contract signed for Luca Iovine. But I just use that as an example to how close in this game you are from getting to the UFC and achieving your dreams and whatever. And then I know that he didn't have a great bit of luck after that fight. And if I'm honest, that breaks my heart. It really does, because he given me my toughest fight to date. Really, he well and truly rocked me. So yeah, it's a weird thing because it's like I'm very grateful, even though he didn't obviously let me win, for us to have that fight.
Yeah.
For it to go the way that it did. If Mark had stepped in 2 seconds before and stopped the fight, that would have been, who knows where I'd be now. So yeah, I will always have a very sort of soft spot for him, and it was very gutting to me because I think he lost the fight after us, if I'm
Yeah,
if
he
I'm
did.
correct.
Yeah, he went to
And
cemetery, didn't
Lost a
he?
couple after.
He lost a couple then.
yeah, so and this is that shit thing about this sport is so tough and harsh, and
Yeah,
it
we
can be a
we say it
blessing.
all the time: highest to highs, lowest to lows, and
Highest to highest, and lowest to
you've got
lows.
to
Yeah,
manage yourself to deal with those lows as well as you deal with the. That. Should we finish off about the weight? So just touch. You said about the moving up a division. How much more comfortable a fight camps now at the 145, and what sort of weight you walking around at now? Is it much more comfortable to cut?
much more comfortable, mate. I had Nando's last night, and I would say that instead of doing 10 weeks of real hard dieting, now it's 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks before the fight, I'm like, okay, now I'm getting a bit pissed off, a bit hungry, but yeah, mate, going up a weight was the best thing I did. I
yeah,
just wasn't enjoying the sport anymore, cutting to 135. And it just kind of made me think, I don't really want to do it if I'm not enjoying
yeah,
it. Now I probably cut, let me think, I'll try and be about 5 kilos out the week
yeah.
out,
We go.
which means, mate, I'm only about 6 kilos out now,
Yeah.
so
Get
it's
back in
very
Nando's then.
back in Nando's,
What
mate.
are you walking around at, Nate? Normally, just out of camp.
So out of fight camp, about 74
Yeah,
kilos.
so 65 is probably the sensible option there, isn't it?
Yeah, but I've got 74 kilos. I've got abs. I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
if he was like, oh, Paddy Pimblett cuts this much, yeah, but look how he balloons
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've not really got that much to lose. Even now, I'm very vascular, and I'm still 72 and a half. I think I am. Um, so yeah, for me, it just, and do you know what it was in the gym? I do better against the bigger guys than the smaller guys. I prefer having that speed advantage. Yes, in the grappling department, you don't really want to be too small, but as I say, if I'm lower than the other guys and they're taller, it's harder for them to shoot. And yeah, mate, I just think it's the best decision I
Yeah,
made.
I mean, if you're putting 10 to 12 pound back on after the weigh-in anyway, I think that's a comfortable, what you would call
Yeah,
a comfortable weight gain and a comfortable weight cut. Anything else you
No,
want to finish on?
I just want to quickly wrap up. Obviously, providing all goes well, you get a win in London. What's the plans for the rest of the year? Then you look in rankings next, or is it a case of whoever, whenever?
I think whoever, whenever, mate, because when I saw you retire, it was actually very refreshing for me because in my head, I don't want to go on too long
Yeah,
because, okay, I love the sport, I really do, but I do not want to almost do like a Tony Ferguson
yeah, let the
and have.
sport retire you.
I
Yeah,
don't want to have my kids going, oh, dad's getting beat up again, and because he needs a paycheck. So I'm doing my best now to try and set up myself financially
yeah,
so that when I am like, it's time to hang up the gloves, I can just do it. And I don't know when that's going to be.
yeah. How
As
old are you at the
soon as I hit
moment?
that, I'm 31 now.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
30.
still young.
I'm 32 in May. Now I want to retire. I would say when I start to decline in athleticism and
Yeah,
stuff like that. When I'm not ready to hang in there with the big boys anymore. And for me, what age is that? 33, 34. I've been fighting since I was 16.
yeah,
So when I'm 36, that's 20 years of getting
Yeah.
yeah,
punched in the head. It's a long time, and now I've got kids. I don't want them to see dad getting beat
yeah.
up. I don't want to be
That
slurring my
played a big
words.
factor
So
with yourself,
Yeah,
didn't it?
definitely, definitely.
so to be fair, mate, hats off to you because when a lot of my friends text me like, "What? How's Jack? Like, we thought you two were going to end up fighting." And I went, "Do you know what?" I said, "I'll ask him myself." And I just thought for you to retire, and you 29.
Just 30 last week. Just turned 30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so happy birthday. But I think no, hats off to you, man.
And what I'll say, Nate,
You
right?
decide when to retire.
From a young age, like even when we first decided this is a path, he's always said 29, 30, dad, I'm going to call it day. And I always thought, oh, he's just saying that. But, he's been sensible with the money that we've earned. He's had good contracts off the UFC. I mean, it just came at
and
the
like
right
you
time.
said, very similar. I've been training since I was 6.
Injuries were starting to happen, weren't they, all
Competing
the
since
time?
I was 15, 16. It's a long
Yeah,
old time, and people. I think
Constant operations.
people say, oh, it's a young age to retire, but when you've been, when you're picking up the injuries and you're taking the knocks, and you've got to kind of know when to listen to your body as well.
yeah,
But yeah, we never got the fight done, but at least we got him on the podcast.
We've had him on the
that's
podcast.
it.
Nice to see you
That's
so
it.
friendly as well, Nick. Because them fans of yours and fans of his, they'd stir that pot up on Twitter, wouldn't they?
Mate,
And the two
your
would be going
fans,
at it. I go, just chill.
your fans, you got one hell of a group of fans behind you, man. 'Cause they used to give me so much shit, and I was like, fucking hell. But yeah, it's good that you had them behind you, man. It
Yeah.
is.
Well, top man, Ev, appreciate your time. Wish you all the
You're
best.
welcome.
Yeah. Anyone you
Thanks,
want to
guys.
shout out to before we let you go?
Do you know what? I won't start because I won't end up
Yeah,
stopping.
you'll end up
So,
missing somebody. It's always going to put somebody out there.
That's
Give
it.
your old man a shout out from me anyway when you see him. Tell him I was asking.
I will do, boys. Thank you.
All right.
Good man.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you,
Appreciate
buddy.
your time, buddy. Have a good day,
Thanks,
pal.
Evans.
Tell him, mate.
All right. That was Nathaniel Wood.
Yeah, good interview. Good, honest interview.
I have to lean forward a bit because I got this.
No probs. He very open about his OCD and the struggles he's had with his little one. Bless him. Hopefully she makes a full recovery. But no, that was I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like we've always had respect for him. I know in the past you've had, like you said, a little bit of beef online, but there's never been any real issue. And nature of the game. He's always carried himself well. And like I said, fingers crossed. He comes out on top and wins on March 22nd. So we have a little chat then about the weekend's event. I want to talk about the top and bottom of the card first. What do you mean a sock? No, I got my black ones on. I haven't got my colours on. They're all right there.
Get down. People want to see your fucking sock.
So we had UFC 312.
Yes.
Now, a stat I read, which I thought was shocking, is that the only ranked fighters on the entire card for a pay-per-view card were the co and main event. There wasn't one ranked fighter in the top 15 on the rest of the event.
Not to sound anti-UFC, but for me, the main thing that always won the UFC over the boxing crowd was they don't do top heavy cards.
No.
With boxing, you have your big main event. If you're lucky, you get a decent co-main event. Then the rest of the card is full of up-and-comers versus journeyman. Obviously now, with Riyadh season in Turkey, Al Sheikh, it's a little bit different. You're getting these super cards.
Yeah.
But with the UFC, whether it was a fight night, whether it was the pay-per-views especially, would be stacked top to bottom every time. Even the fight nights, you'd have a big main event, and even if the rest of the card weren't massive names, they'd be ranked fighters, they'd be fan-friendly fights. And
at the very bottom end, the main card would be stacked, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Whereas now, I don't know if it's because they're putting shows on every week, if they're watering it down a bit. I don't know. It's just we're lucky we live in the UK, so we pay out 20 quid a month or 30 quid a month for everything, and we can watch it. But can you imagine living in America?
I wouldn't have paid $80 for that.
Pay $80 for that.
Yeah,
for that card. You just wouldn't fucking pay it. And that's without your Fight Pass subscription.
Do you think a lot of it had to do with it being in Australia as well? Maybe fighters were turning down bouts because I know for a fact it's early on in the year. Like I said, we were offered a fight. I won't say who against, but Oban was offered a fight on there, and because Oban had that injury, obviously we didn't start fight camp till January. It was February the 8th, was it the show or 6th? Yeah, February the 8th. Which meant, with it being Australia, I got a friend who lives in Australia, rang him, he said, you'll need 14 days to acclimatise beforehand because it's 4 days of jet lag. And it was just too soon, too much. Plus, do you want to be travelling on a 24-hour flight?
It's not just that.
14 days, a lot of money to put yourself up for 9 days that UFC are not going to cover.
I think Islam...
and fighting early hours in the morning, what Islam and Demetrius said on the podcast.
If you're fighting on the undercard, you're weighing in 8 o'clock on the Friday morning, and then you could be fighting 8 o'clock on the. Well,
Islam said his teammate fought at 5 a.m.
There you go then.
5 a.m. And Demetrius and Islam were both main event, and they were on before 11 a.m.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I mean, the fact you can't. I think from America it's the same. From the UK, you can't even get there on a direct flight. You got your 12 hours to. Like Singapore or something like that, and then another 8 hours from me. I
also felt
12 hours from me.
They missed the trick, really. It was a lack of Southern Hemisphere fighters. So Izzy fought the week before in Saudi. Why they didn't put him on?
I think the reason they wanted Izzy in Saudi is because Riyadh sponsored the card.
I get that. But
is it?
But then again,
I might be speaking out of turn, but is it Imavov a Muslim?
Yeah. So part of, they tried to put the Muslim fighters on the Saudi card. But at the same time, you're doing an injustice to them Southern Hemisphere, Oceania fans from Australia and New Zealand, isn't it? That's just my thoughts on it. I know they say, well, we're an international company and we don't need to be putting local fighters on cards, but I do think it helps.
Fighters, but you need to stack the card a bit better than that.
It was poor, I thought. And it didn't help that the fights were a little bit substandard. Let's talk about the main event. Right.
Firstly, though, they weren't bad. I didn't think that some of the fights weren't bad. The Jimmy Crute fight was good.
Jimmy Crute was a good
They had
fight.
a tear up. Him and Pereira's mate. I'm a big Justin Taffer fan. Unfortunately, he got put away quite early.
Yeah.
Go on. Let's go. You want to do the co-main? I watched the co-main. I did. Because there was a lot of hype around Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah.
Justified hype, to be fair. Division 1 wrestler.
And she got out wrestled.
Ranked number 1 in the USA, coming out of high school, won the Ultimate Fighter. Defeated cancer. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
so
Tatiana did.
She won the Ultimate Fighter in 2016 and got diagnosed with cancer. And that's
I didn't know
fight
that.
for so many years. But anyway, everyone was really high on her. Like I was listening to people on Joe Rogan.
The bookies were as well. It was bang evens.
Brendan
the
Sharp,
bookings.
a lot of big names were very much under the idea she was
11-0.
gonna go out, take it down and sub it. And if you just watch the first round of the fight, it was very much going one way, and I thought, well, maybe they're right, but Zhang Wei Li just done a number on it, really.
And out-wrestled her, took her down, but put her on the fence. She's going to take some beat in mind.
She's a little powerhouse, isn't she?
Yeah, and you know, I like I said, I don't watch too many the female bouts, but I did watch that one with it being the main. No, I don't, because some of it
Sexist.
Not sexist. Some of them are substandard.
Sexist. He's sexist. Clip it up.
Oh, Molly be on the text. I mean, no. Molly, not you. I watch every one of your fights. Everything exciting to watch. The main event, you know, after the hype and the build up, and I think Din Thomas hit it bang on, where everyone's hoping that Strickland is going to be that guy. He's talking about fighting to the death, and he didn't even go into deep waters. And I think he coasted. He's been criticised this week by his coach a little bit when he on the aerial show. I just felt that he did coast. I felt that there was like no, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him. I'll have to watch it again. But
I gotta be honest. I get what Dean Thomas is saying, but I do feel two ways about it. It's easy for us to say on the side, throw caution to the wind and die on your soul. What do they say? What's the saying? Go out on your soul.
Go out on your soul. Shit.
But when your nose is shattered and you've got a fucking 220-pound South African marauder,
that's fair.
And then let's be honest, Strickland isn't known for his knockout power. He hasn't knocked. Hasn't really. Strickland's gonna pull you away, gonna wear you down, tie you out, and TKO. He hasn't got one punch knockout power. So for me, I'm like, what is, in a way, if you're 3 rounds down, I totally understand the criticism of.
What round did he break his nose?
Beginning of the fourth.
And he's 3 rounds down.
I totally understand the criticism of you gotta get going a bit earlier because you've just given him 2 rounds, so you gotta get going. But at the same time, I also think he's made a lot of money. Why just go out there and get sparked out in the 5th round with a shattered nose when you know you can't knock him out? You know you can't take him down. You know you're 4 rounds down. I'm not saying you should just sit in there and course by any means, but at that point,
he'd resigned himself to losing and get through it. Right, I get that. But what I'm saying is, if you're going in for a world title fight and you're convinced you won the previous match, rounds 1 to 3 did not show that you were looking to win that fight.
No. But what I'll also say, I don't think it's all on Strickland. I think it's a case of Dricus looked a lot better as well in the last fight.
He is awkward.
He didn't get it as much.
No. I tell you what, he threw a lot more kicks this time. Body, head. He landed a lot of good body shots with the kick and the head.
He didn't get hit as much. He had a lot more output. And I think he also registered that after doing the first 5 rounds with Strickland, they probably thought, chances are he can't knock me out.
Yeah.
He can't take me down.
If I push the pace a little bit more.
So I can afford to just have a lot more output because, he's got awkward defence, but as long as I'm not just getting pinged with the... And what I noticed with Dricus this time is he fought on the back foot a lot better. I thought last fight...
Showed improvements, he did.
Strickland controlled the centre and lit him up a little bit early on with the jab. With this round, none of that happened. He was comfortable on the back foot.
He get a lot of stick about his style, but it's effective, and you know he's the number 1 in the world.
I like what Din Thomas said about Dricus as well. He said he just oozes championship material.
Yeah.
He turns up, then he chest out, he's brash as fuck. He doesn't care. You can call him what you want, and he genuinely. You only got to listen to him speak. He genuinely thinks he can beat anyone on the planet at 205 or 185.
What you just said there as well, don't let people get in the skin. You do stay very composed. I was watching the Embedded...
He's good at the mind game.
Oh, yeah. I was watching the Embedded series last week on different days as they were coming out. And I went on to a link where somebody was it said like on YouTube, Dricus' mindset for all this stuff. And it's like, they were showing fighters being really abusive and rude to him, and he just smiles and he comes back with a one-liner and
Well, look,
never ever loses his temper.
As well, isn't he?
He's used to he's being took constantly. Yeah.
Have you seen him down a pint?
Yeah.
Did some I don't know if he's a streamer or an internet person, he tagged Dricus in a thing. And Dricus, as you can tell, he's absolutely slaughtered on it. He must be about fucking 30 pints deep. And they have it down off. And the guy tips it down his shirt, and Dricus is still down the pint fast, and the guy tipped it down his shirt.
No, I like him as a person. I think he's going to... Next fight's going to be interesting, mind. Him against the Wolf Kazmat. How do you think that goes?
I think Khamzat can beat... If every fight was a one-round fight, Khamzat can beat anyone in the world for one round. If I had to bet, I would bet Khamzat. But what I think is this... I don't foresee him just taking Dricus down and choking him
like
you'll get him down, but I think you'll have to work to get him down.
Keep him down.
Dricus probably walks around. If I had to guess, I'd say he's as big as Pereira, 230 pounds.
Yeah.
Khamzat, I would say, probably walks around 210.
Well, he's fought a welterweight as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, 210, 215.
As a max, I would say.
It's a case of can Dricus I think it's a case with anyone with Khamzat, can they withstand the early storm? Same with Kamaru, wasn't it? He withstood the storm.
And Gilbert Burns, the free rounders, he tired a little bit as well.
I think a lot of that was weight drain as well. Whereas I think
Burns was 77. Yeah.
I think if he gets you down in the first minute, you really could, he could. If he takes
he's overwhelming.
Comes out and takes Dricus down, it's probably going to be over. But like you said, we have seen him gas a little bit in 3 rounds fight. So how does that go 3, 4? Because he's just seen Dricus do 5 on his head.
That's going to have to be a Middle East fight, though, isn't it? Has he got the visa sorted?
No, he's got I just seen online. Someone said on a podcast he's now got his UAE passport, so he's no longer a resident of Chechnya.
Right, so that clears him to get a visa to come in.
Well, don't forget, Dana's best friend's now running the country as well.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, Mr. Trump will...
the Don is running the country.
The Donald Trump will tip the cap and get him in. Good man.
I think Dana said he would rather it in the US. If I had to guess, I would say it'll be...
International Fight Week? I think so as well.
If it's not International Fight Week, I think it will be the October card in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
But then if we wait till October, again means Khamzat has got another year.
Yeah. I think International Fight Week makes sense. That's 5 months away. Plenty of time for Dricus to...
And I think if they do June, July...
It's always July.
They did it June last year, though. End of June.
Well, they changed it.
I think if...
When we went out to March, I was definitely July.
Yeah, they did it June.
It was school holidays, I remember.
Yeah, it was June 29th, because McGregor was meant to fight.
That's right, against...
I think if Khamzat fights end of June or July, then they can turn him around and put him on the Abu Dhabi card in October as well.
Going off on a tangent now, out with my brain. The rumour mill is going mental again. Now Paddy Dustin, they're saying.
Yeah, but Dustin have come out now. Have you seen him? No. Paddy and Dustin and Nate Diaz all interlinking.
No.
Dustin have come out and said it's definitely not Paddy. I'm here to fight legends only. Nate Diaz have shaded and put, fight Paddy, you pussy. He's better than you. And then Paddy have shaded Nate post and put, Nate's a real G. Know what's up? Dustin, you fight Saint and he's a rank 12, but you won't fight me because you know you lose. So I honestly don't think they know who Paddy's fighting.
No.
I think they look to do Chandler, but now I'm hearing rumours of Chandler and Arman in Miami.
Ooh. That's feeding Chandler to the...
Gaethje and Ucker's booked up. So
I cannot wait for that.
It could well be. I would be up for Paddy Poirier. I gotta be honest.
So who do you say now? Chandler and Arman is talking about?
That's the rumor going on at the minute. But I'd like to see. I would watch Paddy and Chandler. I would watch Paddy and Poirier. I wouldn't like to see him going against.
We will watch Paddy and anyone because he's so entertaining.
What I mean is, I wouldn't want him going against Harman just yet.
No, Paddy.
Yeah.
No.
I think he needs another. He's done the top 15 now. I think he needs a ranked.
Top
10 to 5, and then we can, if he wins and gets I
think his progression has been spot on, haven't it? The way they've managed him, they've done a great job managing him.
Maybe they do give him Gamrot
the right fights at the right time. I think Gamrot's a great fight for him stylistically because Gamrot's going to come and grapple, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he's capable of beating anyone on the ground outside of your Islam.
And we say it every time. He's unorthodox at striking, but he hits hard. Yeah, we've seen him dust people, haven't we? So. Yeah, looking for that. So what we got next? What's the next UFC event?
The next big one is Pereira and Ankalaev March 8. What's the rest of that card? That's in Vegas.
That's an interesting fight as well. We spoke about that last time,
What do you think Strickland does next? Let's have a look. Yes.
Probably similar to Izzy now, just main event in fight night cards, earning the money. I think he's got no desire. You know, he's lost twice. He's not going to go back and.
It's a big claim now, isn't it? Because the division's getting
fight
deep again. Now you've got Kamzat's going to fight next. If Kamzat wins, they're probably going to give Dricus a rematch.
He's a wealthy man now. He doesn't have a lavish lifestyle, as he always says.
Well, you got
Imavov. Well, he's beaten Imavov though, hasn't he? So it could be.
Yeah, but I think after beating Stylebender, Imavov got to be the winner of Kamzat.
Oh yeah.
I can't get this to load. I just seen though that.
Hey, is he Strickland rematch might be one down the line, mind?
Yeah, Gaethje is fighting Hooker on that card as well, on the March 8th card.
Yeah, who else on it?
No, a lot of fucking great. Again, we talk about padding out the cards. You only have a real notable fight on there is Bobby Green or King Green against Mauricio Ruffy. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, he was on the same card as Oban.
I know, it was in Brazil.
Yeah. Yours was then. Sorry, yours, yeah.
There's no real other. Again, that's another one. Like, you know, you got a pay-per-view card. You got 3 noticeable fights, and on paper, like we know, as our hardcore fans, Bobby Green and Ruffy is a good fight, but the average Joe is not. He's
not going to be interested in it.
To watch that. We got a couple of fight nights in between. Actually, we've got Kanye versus RoboCop. Calvin Kattar's fighting Zalal.
That's an interesting fight. Mine Kanye and RoboCop, yeah.
Calvin Kattar's fighting Yusuf Zalal on there as well.
Oh, good matchup.
Big step up for Zalal.
Big step up for Zalal. A winnable fight, that is, mind.
Shabazian's on there.
Arnold Allen hasn't had any matches recently all lined up. I thought he would have been a dead shirt for the London card.
I'm not sure if he's injured again or not.
Ah, right.
We'll have to check. Yeah, what date's this? 23rd of Feb, we got Cejudo against Sonia Dom, which is a good fight.
Nice fight. I see the
Brendan Allen versus Fluffy Hernandez.
The plan on this, isn't it, that Cejudo and that they link the footage, is that they're going to do this fight at 135.
He's going to go back down.
And then back down to try and challenge Pantoja.
Yeah, well, I seen him talking to... was it Khabib? And he was saying, I know I can make the weight. And Khabib tried to give him diet advice. Bring your weight down a bit. Yeah, it was a bit of a lackluster event. Because the first fight was awesome between them, wasn't it? And I thought we'd have a bit more of that. On
about Arnie, Sterling called him out, didn't he? Done a video saying, I think it'd be I think that'd be a brilliant matchup, mind. Arnie and Sterling, really good.
I fancy Arnold in that.
Listen, Arnold on his thing can beat them all.
When you see how well he defended takedowns against the Russian kid who just
yeah.
But then also you factor in you've just seen Sterling take that Russian kid down comfortably as well. So it is a different ball. Yeah, different styles of wrestling.
Yeah,
Sterling must just be so physically strong.
Yeah, natural strength genetics.
And he's obviously an elite level. He's not just a wrestler. His jiu-jitsu's very good as well.
Yeah, he likes the lager as well, and the lager's probably fueling him up on some of these.
He loves
fights.
a Madri and like
a Madri and Ovan over Mouth the Workman's Club. But yeah, all right then. Well, that was nice, interesting chat with Nathaniel. Great. I thought he spoke about his OCD issues with the little one, bless her.
Wishing her all the best as well,
wishing the daughter full recovery and good luck with the new baby on the way. And we wish Nathaniel all the best against Morgan Charrier. Not a lot of breakdown really on the last UFC card because not a lot of interest in it, but like I said, interested to see where Strickland goes next.
We'll be back now. Next week we got a guest lined up. In studio guest, is he coming down?
Oh yeah.
You know, say it what it is.
Are we not allowed to say?
Well, we can say if we want, but...
So we got the legend that is Mark Goddard next week coming down to talk a little bit of martial arts and refereeing. I thought we'll touch on some subjects there, and we're going to get some training in with him after as well, aren't we? So it'll be good to have him. He's going to be in the studio.
Yeah.
So till next week, over and out from the shores.
Boom.